Hi friends, I hope my voice is audible and I'm about to share my screen. Hope that you can see my screen. Yeah. I welcome all of you to this course on Docker and Kubernetes. So just I will briefly tell you about the course detail for those who have joined us today. This is our second class. The course name is Docker and Kubernetes. Duration is 45 days. Classes are from Monday to Saturday. Timings are 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST. Okay, you will get live classes plus recordings plus class notes. Okay, notes, not just class notes, it's notes. Okay, this is the thing, and course fee, as you know, it is 4,000 INR. Now, yesterday we have seen what is a container in general. A container is an empty box which is used to put some material for transportation. Generally, a container can be anything which contains some material. In our home also, the boxes, the food boxes are also containers. But in general, the container means the containers which are used to transport the goods from one part of the world to the other part. So the containers are used in the roadways, railways, airways, and mainly in shipping industry. The same concept has been adopted in software industry to isolate the applications from one another. And they are isolated in some aspects in which they should be isolated, and in some aspects they are sharing the common system resource. Okay, and yesterday we have seen that if we have some hardware and if we want to run multiple operating systems, we have a beautiful tool called hypervisor. Hypervisor enables us to run multiple operating systems in the same host machine. Here, the thing is, here, every virtual machine contains the full-fledged operating system that is called as guest OS. And here, the application will be developed or run. For the application to be run, the related libraries have to be installed in this. And if you want to launch another virtual machine within the same hardware, again, you need to install full-fledged operating system. And again, here we are running the application B. For the application B to be run, it needs its own dependencies. Likewise, in containerization also, we will run multiple virtual machines called as containers. They are not exactly virtual machines, but they can be compared with the virtual machines. And here, from here to here, the difference is here also the application A is running, here also application A is running, here also libraries are installed, here also libraries are installed. But what's the major difference from here to here is, here in case of containers, we have eliminated the need for installing full-fledged operating system. So here, if you see, the operating system size will be about 3 GB if it is Ubuntu. So here also we are running the Ubuntu container, but here there is no full-fledged operating system. In turn, what happens here is the containers will be utilizing the underlying operating system kernel. That means if you want to run Linux-based containers, then the host operating system should be Linux. Or if you have Windows as your host operating system, you need to install Windows subsystem for Linux, which will provide us the Linux kernel, and that kernel will be utilized by these containers, right? So for that, what we need to do, we have to install container runtime, that is Docker, which is the famous one. We have many container runtimes in the industry, but no doubt that Docker is widely used and it is most famous, and there is no surprise that other containers are not familiar to many of these software industry, software engineers. Like we have Podman, we have Rocket also. So those tools are also used to containerize the application, but Docker is the most famous one. Now here the thing is, if we have eliminated the need for installing the full-fledged operating system, the boot up time is very less. That means the containers will be launched very super fast. For example, if you want to launch this virtual machine using Hyper-V, it will take about 20 to 40 minutes just to launch this virtual machine. But you will see that in case of containers, containers will be launched within no time. Within a second, the containers will be up. When the container is up means immediately the application will be started, right? Now, this is the technology that we are going to discuss widely in this course, and in Kubernetes also we will be using Docker as a container tool, a containerization tool, and in Kubernetes you will see that we will be having multiple Docker host machines so that our application is highly available without any downtime. Let's go and launch Docker. Before that, we need to get familiarity with the terms one more time. Now, here, what is Docker? Docker is a containerization tool. If it is a containerization tool, then what is container? Container is nothing but, here you should be in a position to clearly distinguish between Docker, container, image, all these things. You should not be having any doubt in your mind. Container is nothing but running instance of a Docker image. If container is a running instance of a Docker image, then what is Docker image? Docker image is nothing but, now I will take you to the diagram. Here we are packaging the application source code along with its dependencies. We are packaging, we are putting them into a single file. Okay, we are hardening the source code and the libraries into a single file. So this kind of package where the application along with its libraries are bundled together, that is called as what? Docker image. In general, it is image, but more specifically, it is Docker image in our context. So what is it? It is nothing but the application plus its dependencies or libraries, or we can say dependencies. For example, if your application is Java application, the dependency for Java application is what? Java package, Java 8 or Java 11. Okay, the package is there, right? That is the dependency. And your application will be your application source code. If it is your Jenkins application, Jenkins requires Java to run. So Jenkins along with its dependencies, that is Java, packed together in a file, then that package is called as what? Image. For example, You want to install Ubuntu operating system in your computer. For that, what you need to do? You need to get the Ubuntu operating system image. It's a file. Once that is executed, once that is launched, the application will be running. That application is analogous to what? Container. So container is an empty box inside which application will be running. That is the more general definition. So it's a running instance of a Docker image. So when the Docker image is run, that means when the Docker image is executed, then container is created. That means from this file, a process will be created. That process is called as what? Container. Inside the container, your actual application will be running. And container is like a virtual machine. It has its own network space. It has its own file system, and you will see that sooner than later. So here, the main difference from here to here is containers are very lightweight. Sometimes they are less than 4 MB or 5 MB in size. But if you take this full-fledged operating system of this virtual machine, it is about 3 GB in weight. Where is 3 GB? Where is 4 or 5 MB? How many times it is reduced? The size or the weight of this particular virtual machine is hundreds of times lesser than that of the virtual machine. That makes the container technology very faster to launch the application, which you will witness up today. Okay. Now, what are other technologies? Now, container is a running instance of a Docker image. Docker image contains the application along with its dependencies. These kind of Docker images are stored in some central server. That is called as container registry. Okay. Container registry is nothing but a central server where Docker images are stored. In container registry, what are stored? Docker images are stored. Okay. So why this is called as container registry is here container images are stored. In general, the name is image, but in particular, those images are what? Container images, right? So those container images will be stored in some central server called as container registries. For example, where the application source code will be saved, application source code will be saved in some central server called as repos or repositories. Like that, as I said, Docker image is nothing but the bundle of application and dependencies. These Docker images will be stored in some central server called as container registry. The public container registry is Docker Hub. What is it? Docker Hub. How it looks like? hub.docker.com is its UI. hub.docker.com. So when I search for it, here, this is the portal where public Docker images are stored. When I say public, they are downloadable by everybody. There is no restrictions. They are not private. They are public. Now, if I take Nginx server, see, this is the Nginx. If I take Jenkins, you can type with any name for that application. So this is deprecated. This is the official Docker image for Jenkins. What this image contains? This image contains the Jenkins application along with its dependencies. How to make this? It's not just to download the images. We will also learn how to create our own Docker images, how to store them in the public and private container registry. Okay. For that, we have a beautiful concept called Docker file, using which we will create customized Docker images. Okay, so what is this? This is the Docker Hub where Docker images are stored, not just Docker images. These are particularly public Docker images. Okay, and we will also see private container registry, which are very important in our real time. Okay, we will see both Elastic Container Registry. We will also see Azure Container Registry as well. So what is that we are talking about? Container registry is a place where all the container images are stored, and the public container registry is Docker Hub, and we have private container registries that is ECR, Elastic Container Registry. We have ACR, Azure Container Registry. That means we can store these Docker images either in AWS Cloud or in Azure Cloud based on the project. Okay, and we can also store them in Arbor, or else you can also store them in JFrog also, right? So that is what container registry is all about. Docker is a containerization tool where this tool has to be installed. That has to be installed in some host machine. Either it can be Windows operating system, or it can be Linux operating system, or it can be any other type of operating system. The Docker is supported in every platform. So Docker has to be installed. Then what is Docker host? Docker host is a machine. Docker host is a computer where Docker is installed. A machine where Docker is installed. For example, this is my Windows laptop. If I install Docker in this, then I can call this Windows laptop as Docker host because it became a host for Docker, right? That is Docker host. Container Docker image Docker host. Now let's create Docker host. So I can install Docker in my Windows operating system, but I don't do that because in real time we are going to install Docker in any cloud machine. So for that, what I will do is I will go to my AWS account, aws.amazon.com. So this is the AWS. All I want you to do is you need to get some Linux machine, friends. Even though you are able to install Docker in your Windows machine, I don't recommend that. Of course, every command will be same. I want you to get some real-time exposure here. So that's why. So in real time, what you will do, if you are using Azure, you can use the virtual machine service to create your Ubuntu machine. But I'm using Amazon now for you to understand this clearly because most of the people are familiar with Amazon. Or if you want to use Azure, go to portal.azure.com and you should have Azure account already. Right? In my case, I have my Azure account, and my email address is Cloud DevOps Coach. So now, but I don't touch Azure now. Let's sign into the console. If you don't have the AWS, what AWS account, all you need to have is an email address and a debit card or credit card with international transactions enabled. If you have that, then simply create AWS account, and initially you will be provided with the free-tier account. But because this is not the AWS Plus, I'm restricting my discussion to launch the virtual machine in EC2 service. Okay, I want to log in as the root user. My username is Cloud DevOps Coach. It is auto-populated. I am giving my password. I'm logging into my AWS management console, and my default region is AP South 1, that is Mumbai region. And I don't know how many of you are aware, most of you may be aware of it. AWS has also launched Hyderabad region also. Okay. Now, this is my Mumbai region. What I will do, I will go to services. This is for people who don't know this AWS, and if they want to create the AWS account, and if they want to create Ubuntu machine, the steps I am providing clearly. So this is my AWS management console. Go to services, and in services, go to compute section. Click on this. If you click on this compute section, here you will see multiple services in computing. So out of this, I'm using EC2, which is nothing but virtual servers in the cloud. Okay. I'm not explaining in detail because this is not the AWS class. I just want to tell you how to create Ubuntu in Ubuntu operating system or Ubuntu machine in the AWS cloud in Mumbai region. So this is the EC2 dashboard. You can either go here to instances, or you can click on this also. Anyway, it will take you to the same dashboard. So here in Mumbai region, I don't have any machines running. What I have to do is, what I'm trying to do here, if you have the Linux machine in your on-prem data center, or if you have the Ubuntu machine, that is well and good. But for those people who do not have the Ubuntu machine available, they can create a one in AWS account. How to create that, I'm showing. Okay, it's not mandatory to have Ubuntu in AWS only to create Docker. No, it's not required. I can launch this Docker in my Windows also. I have Windows subsystem for Linux also, but I don't want to do that. I want to exactly do what we are doing in the real time. Okay, so click on launch instances. With that, see, we are going to launch an instance. I'm going to tag that machine as Docker host. This name is just for identity. Okay, it's just a tag. Now, choose Ubuntu operating system, and you can choose any Ubuntu operating system version. Let's go with the 22. Okay, and as of now, T2.micro is sufficient for me, or else let's choose T2.medium. What is this? Based on the amount of CPU and memory that you want, based on that, different instances are there in the AWS, and I'm choosing T2.medium. You can choose T2.micro also, but I'm choosing some higher level machines so that I can launch multiple on many containers. Now, here I want to create new key pair, and my key pair name I'm giving is Docker July. Okay, July KP I'm giving so. Just I'm using RSC algorithm and P10 key I want to download. So with that, create key pair. Again, I'm telling, so this is not the cloud class, so that's why I'm just going like anything to launch a Ubuntu machine. Okay, you may be having your Ubuntu machine anywhere, but I want to create from the AWS. So here, regarding firewalls, I want to choose the existing security group where all inbound and outbound traffic is allowed. So what is the security group? For that, you should have the AWS knowledge. Have chosen the default one, then the storage is 8 GB sufficient for us. Then with that, I'm not going to advance details. Just click on launch instance. Here I wanted to launch only one instance, so that's why I'm keeping this as default, that is one. Then click on launch instance. With that, a virtual machine will be created for us by AWS, for which AWS will charge us based on the instance type, based on the number of hours that we are using this instance. Then click on view all instances. If you come here, it is in pending state. That is, it is pending state means the EC2 instance of that Ubuntu machine is being created for us. It will take 2 to 3 minutes for the machine to be up and running. So meanwhile, the status checks are also being executed by the AWS, right? So this is the remote machine. How to log into this remote machine? So many of you are aware of it. I know most of you are aware of it, but one or two people who don't have this idea, I'm just trying to explain them. So click on instance ID. If you click on connect, these are the instance properties, instance ID, public IP, private IP, and all those things. You can use Bastion host to connect to this instance using private IP address. Okay, but I want to connect from our local, that is Windows machine. For that, I will be using the public IP address, and you must be knowing that already we have chosen the default security groups where all the inbound traffic is allowed. Now, click on connect. If you click on connect, here the public IP which is already given here also, but in addition we will also be getting the username for this. But how to connect to this machine? Which SSH client we have to use? That is one question for the strangers. Here there are multiple SSH clients were there. For example, many of you may be aware of PuTTY, but I would recommend you to use MobaXterm. MobaXterm is a remote client. So that means we can connect it to the remote machine using this. How to download MobaXterm? Just copy this link in your browser. If you go to this MobaXterm Home Medicine Portable, if you click on this, simply your MobaXterm will be downloaded in the form of a zip file. Once the zip file is downloaded, go to this. Here, this is the, once you extract the zip file, once you extract the zip file, I'm canceling it because I have already it. Once you extract the zip file, so these files will be shown. I don't know what is this. These files are shown. This is maybe copied for me into this folder, unfortunately. So this is the MobaXterm application. If you double click on this, see MobaXterm terminal is open for you. And I have kept that in the pin that to the taskbar so that I can is available there also. So this is now how to connect to this Ubuntu machine. For that, we need to get the public IP address. Then click on session here. Click on SSH here. Remote host. It is the public IP address of that machine. Check this specify username. Our username is Ubuntu. Okay. So give that username here. And by default, SSH port is what? 22. That is by default populated here. If it's not there, we need to keep here 22. Then click on Advanced SSH settings. Check this use private key. It will enable us to browse for the private key. What is the private key that we have downloaded? When we are launching the instance, we have downloaded the pen key. So that key is nothing but the private key. If you click on this browse option, okay, go to downloads. See this Docker July KP is our pen key. I have browsed for this. Then once that is done, click on OK. See, we are successfully connected to the AWS EC2 instance, which is nothing but Ubuntu machine. Now, this is it. You can just press Control and scroll up or scroll down to increase this font size. And the advantage of MobaXterm is if you click on this, it will open the SSH browser. That means this Ubuntu instances file system you can see through the UI. Okay, so for time being, I'm closing this thing. Now, I'm clearing the screen. We are connected to the remote machine. Then, how to install Docker? Our objective is to install Docker in this machine. Because I'm going to install Docker in this machine, That's why I have named this machine as Docker host. This name can be anything. It can be your name also. Generally, in real time, how we will be giving Docker host to dev. That means for dev environment, this Docker we are using. Docker host to prod also we can give. This is the instance ID. Now, what we have to do? We have to install Docker. How to install Docker? Do we need to go anywhere and struggle to search for it? No, you just have to go to our notes, and if you come down further, see how to install Docker. Installing. Okay, so go to root account. So So with that, you will be switching to root account. The prompt will change to root. Earlier we are in the Ubuntu user. Now we are into the root. And that you know already as part of your Linux understanding. Now we are trying to get the script from the Docker. Okay, get docker.com, and we are getting the output into a file. With that, if you ls here, the get docker.sh, you cat it. So this is the script to install Docker in the Linux machine. So once that is done, we need to execute the shell script. For that, sh space the script name we have to mention. If you do that, Docker will be installed. It may take about 3 to 4 minutes for the Docker to be installed. What we are doing here, I kept this aside. This is AWS Cloud, and I have an account with that. Then what we have done is we have created an EC2 instance, and this EC2 instance from our local machine. This is our local machine. This is our local machine. Here we have installed MOBA, XTERM SSH client. Then here we have the IP address, and we have what pen key for this username for this machine. So using these details, we have connected to that machine. Okay. Then what we are doing, we are installing the Docker inside this machine. Okay. So I hope Docker is installed successfully, and you can just type for the Docker version. Okay, so this is the Docker 24.0.2 version. If you just type Docker, it will give the commands. Now we have installed Docker in the host, in some host machine, that is Ubuntu. How to interact with the Docker? How to interact with the Docker engine? For that, we need to have a command line interface. Okay, so that is Docker CLI. Docker CLI is nothing but Docker command line interface. It is CLI to interact with the Docker. So how to install this Docker CLI? You don't need to perform any additional step. When you install Docker, by default, Docker CLI is also installed. That's why we are able to execute Docker commands. Clear? Now we are ready with the Docker host machine. Now we are ready to launch the container. To make you feel the difference between the container and non-container world, I will show you one example. First, how to install Jenkins. Installing Jenkins in Ubuntu. Click on this. We are choosing the Debian Ubuntu. So on Debian and Debian-based distributions like Ubuntu, you can install Jenkins through apt package manager also. Okay, but usual steps are, see, we need to perform these things. We need to perform this command. We need to perform this command. We need to perform this command. All these things we need to perform. And one more thing, that before doing all these things, what are the requirements? The software requirements for Jenkins is This is the minimum hardware requirement, and we need to have the Java installed. Okay, so before executing these steps, we need to install Java. And there are different versions of the Java, Java 8, Java 11, other versions are all there. And we don't know exactly what version of Java is suitable for the Jenkins or that particular release. All the struggles are there. We need to execute about 6 to 7 or 10 commands. And even after doing all those commands, there is no guarantee that Jenkins will be running. But in order to avoid this problem, what we have the concept of containers. So in containers, that means in container image, in Docker image, this Jenkins application along with its dependencies are already packaged and they are provided in the Docker Hub. What is it? Docker Hub. So here, if I browse for Jenkins, it's a public Docker image. If you click on this, so we can pull this image. Pulling the image means downloading image. Now, let me tell you this. Now, this is our Docker host machine where Docker is running. Then we have the Docker Hub. In this, what we have? We have Jenkins. We have Jenkins official Docker image here. So this Jenkins Docker image, what it is, you can go to its documentation, read documentation for usage. See, this is the Jenkins documentation, right? You can go there and you can read the full documentation if it is necessary for you. Now, to run the Jenkins application, first we have to download this Jenkins Docker image into the Docker host machine. Okay, we need to download that image into the Docker host machine. So this is the Docker image for Jenkins. Now, what is image? As per our understanding, the image consists of the application along with its dependencies. What are the dependencies for Jenkins? These are all the dependencies for the Jenkins, and here especially the Java. Okay, so if you go to requirements page, many requirements may be code. So all those things will be contributing to the so-called the dependencies. And Java application, the Jenkins application will also do. So all those are packaged into a file called Docker image. That Docker image is stored in some central server called as container registry, and the default public container registry is Docker Hub. So from there, we have downloaded the Jenkins image. Now we will be getting a question: who created this Jenkins image and for whom it is created? The Jenkins Docker image is created by the Jenkins organization itself. Okay, so this is the organization ID. We will understand how to tag the image, what this particular thing will represent, what it represents, and what the tags will also be there. All those things you will understand going forward. So Jenkins has created the Jenkins Docker image and it has given to the Docker to make it publicly available. As you must be knowing already that Jenkins is an open source automation server, right? Now, here that is the Jenkins image that is stored here. First, we need to download that image into our machine. How to perform the download? For that, we have Docker pull. Docker pull. What is the image name? Jenkins/Jenkins. If you perform this, Raman is asking, sir, how to install in my Mac OS? For the different steps will be there. Okay, So you can go to the documentation, but you can get the steps. So Sucharita is asking, we are using Ubuntu as can't to use Windows for Docker setup. Yes, happily you can use Windows also, but in Windows we have to install Windows subsystem for Linux. That also you can simply do that, but I'm installing this in the Ubuntu. Why means because in real time we will be using the Linux servers only, DevOps for the for this Docker. So that's why I'm using this. So installation of the Docker in Windows is very easy, like that of the installation that will be Ubuntu. Okay, in Mac OS also you can install it very easy, right? So here, what is done? Jenkins image is downloaded, and Jenkins image is composition of multiple layers. This layers concept we will understand later. So we have performed this full operation. Now, how to check whether the Jenkins application is downloaded or not? For that, we need to just get the list of images. Docker image ls. Docker image ls will give us the list of Docker images that are there in our Docker host machine. And we have only one Jenkins image that is just now we have pulled, and the repository Jenkins/Jenkins, the tag is latest, you will understand this later. So an unique ID will be assigned to that image. This is, and it was created 2 hours ago. What is created 2 hours ago? This Jenkins image, but that is not the case. It is updated 2 hours ago. The image is being updated by the Jenkins periodically. So here it should be either updated or created, but unfortunately we have here they have just one created, but it is updated. Okay, this update. See, the size of the Jenkins image 462 MB. Based on the application weight, based on its dependency size, the size of this Docker image will vary from image to image. For Nginx, the size may be different. For Ubuntu image, the size may be different. For Apache server, the size is different based on the application thing. Someone is asking, sir, can I install MySQL server using Docker? Yes, we will also see that. Going forward, practically we will do that. So this is the Docker image. What we have done, now the image is downloaded into the host machine. How to run the container from this? Okay, so that is something that we have to learn. But what I will tell you is, you know how much effort and time it requires to run Jenkins in the Ubuntu operating system without the containers concept. First, we need to install this is the hardware requirements. We need to install Java and other requirements. Then after that, we need to perform all these things. And even after doing all these things, there is no guarantee that Jenkins will be running. But I will just show you how to run Jenkins using containers, and you will feel how quickly it can be launched. If you see, with the single command, I'm going to launch Jenkins. That's it. Jenkins is launched. Jenkins is up and running. How can I check that? So we have PS command. Of course, I will explain this later. Now, if it is up and running, I should able to access it. Now, go to the public image of our EC2 instance. Okay, I made the Jenkins to run on this public IP address with the 90904. Don't worry, friends. As part of course, we will learn all this thing just to give you some experience of what containers is, how quickly we can launch the application using container. See, Jenkins application is running, how faster it is, and it is running in its own container. How to check the list of containers that are running? We have the Docker image ls to list out the Docker images that are existing in the Docker host. But to get the list of containers, we have Docker ps command. So here, this is the Jenkins container. I have named it as my Jenkins. How to name all these things? We will learn each and every aspect thoroughly, just to make you feel how to launch Jenkins application using containers. See how quickly we have done that. So we need to go to this part to get the initial admin password. And where is this? Where is this? Is this path is there in the Ubuntu machine? No. Now I will take you to the image once again. Here we have launched a container, and with which image? The Jenkins image. So now Jenkins application is running successfully. The image consists of with libraries. Once we execute the run command, from the image, container is created. Inside the container, the Jenkins application is running. That means it's a separate virtual machine for Jenkins application. It is an isolated environment for Jenkins application. So if it is like virtual machine, what I said, we can enter into the container like we are SSH into the virtual machine. We can also interact with this container terminal and container file system. How to do that? Of course, I will explain this command thoroughly tomorrow. And after exec IT, I want to execute commands in my Jenkins containers. And see, we are into the container terminal. Okay, so don't worry. I'm not expecting you to understand this today, but I'm just going to this particular part to get the password. This is the admin password. Now paste it here, just click on continue. So with that, you are proceeding to Jenkins. You can install suggested plugins, or you can choose different plugins. We have the Git Maven already. That general plugins are there, right? So you can install them. So they are being installed in our Jenkins. So the Jenkins is running in a container. Jenkins is running in a container. You can create another Jenkins also, and that you can make to run in another container, right? So that is how the container concept will work. How beautiful it is, how much time it took to launch Jenkins in a separate virtual machine. Within no time, we are able to launch the Jenkins. But imagine if you want to run Jenkins in a virtual machine in hypervisor technology, here we need to first create this virtual machine. For that installation, it will take about 25 to 30 minutes. After that, we have to install libraries one after the other. After that, we have to run the application. And here, if you see, it is more efficient. Here, there is no full-fledged operating system. That means we have saved a lot of resources from here to here. And here, maximum of resources are available for the actual application. But here, most of the resources are wasted for installing these operating systems on the host, right? So this is how containers will look like means we can't see them. They are abstract elements. We can't see the box going inside. Okay, it is just imaginary things. Now, Docker images, if you see, sorry, we are into the container. We are exiting from the container. We will see how to go into the container now. Just an overview I have given. This is not the way we learn. We will learn each and every single term of the command. But so here, what happened? We are trying to pull the image. When we are trying to pull the image, what this Docker daemon will do is Docker daemon will consult the Docker host by design. This Docker container registry, that is Docker hub and Docker are integrated. So when we pull the image, it will go to the Docker hub only. It won't go to the Elastic Container Registry. It won't go to the Azure Content Registry won't go to the Google Content Registry. It will consult only the Docker Hub by default. And from Docker Hub, it will download the Jenkins image. Okay, this is Ubuntu image. We will see tomorrow. And from that container is created. Inside that container, our Jenkins application is running. And here the containers are represented in the form of boxes only. Got it? This is. Now we will work on different commands. If you have any doubts till now, you can unmute and ask me. And one more thing, friends, when you are messaging me in the Zoom, I'm not getting the notification. I don't know. They have changed the settings. I need to just click on the chat, then only I can see your message. That is also a good thing because that won't disturb the class. Sucharita is asking, Raman is asking first, sir, is it possible that I can run multiple Jenkins on two different ports on same machine? Yes, it is exactly possible, Raman. You can run two Jenkins in the same host machine with a different host. Okay. Sucharita is asking, please, can you elaborate on Jenkins usage here? Why we are installing Jenkins here? Why we are installing Jenkins is just forget about the Jenkins. You have some application created by the dev team, right? So when they have created the application and in the dev machine, they will test it to develop the Java application. The Java has to be installed. Okay. And here Java will be installed and other binaries will also be installed for that particular application. So after development is completed, what is to be done? The application has to be tested. For that, it has to be deployed in the QA environment. And in QA environment, again, we have to install operating system. We need to install all those binaries, all those libraries, and then after we need to run the application. But doing all these steps may miss one or the other, and ultimately that leads to the failure of the application in the QA environment. So to avoid all this conflict, what we are doing is we are shipping the application along with its environment from dev to QA and from there to production. Got it? So we are packaging the source code along with the dependencies. All together we are packaging and we are shipping them. And we are running them in the isolation. Right? That is the thing. Please go through yesterday's class. You will be getting more clear understanding. Yes.
Hi, sir. Actually, when we commit the code to the Git, so the Jenkins pipeline will trigger automatically, right? So is this?
If you have using the pipelines, yes.
Yeah. So is this because of the Jenkins configuration in the Docker host?
No. Generally, Jenkins will be running inside of a host machine, not as a content. Generally, as a software, you will be installing the Jenkins. Okay. But like Jenkins, how I have run the Jenkins using the containers, we will run our applications in the form of containers. But actual Jenkins, you can run that in the form of containers, or you can install the Jenkins in the host machine. So as for your question, if you have the Jenkins, means the Jenkins will be installed in this manner only, like I have shown. Okay, so the steps I have shown you, right, from the official documentation. So actually, Jenkins will be running that way, but our actual application we will be running the way that I have done now. Okay, because we don't have any application as of now to show you. So that's why I have taken that Jenkins application as an example, and we will see some real-time example also going on. Okay.
Yeah, my thought is actually when we commit the code to Git, the pipeline is like it will build and it will scan something, and finally it will process the that build steps, build all stages. So
Hmm.
that is different. And I know the Jenkins will do that job. Is that same thing here also? Like we are keeping.
No, 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 no. We are not doing that. So as Jenkins, I'm just trying to run the Jenkins here.
Why?
Okay, where
Why?
it is not like merging the source code and triggering the pipeline. No.
Hmm.
In your case, the Jenkins is running in this host machine, not inside the container. But I have shown you how to containerize the Jenkins application, right?
So what the advantage we will get? So by installing the Jenkins in the Docker host, so what advantage we will get?
For example, here, forget about the Jenkins, okay? Generally, we don't run Jenkins in the form of a container. Why? Because if you want to run the Jenkins in the form of container, again, of course, we can do it. We can run it in the distributed environment where we will be having multiple instances for the same Jenkins, and we can store our data into some Elastic Block Store or some here. But here, advantage of creating containers is we will be, as I said, are you there in the yesterday's class?
Yeah.
So what I told is, for example, developer has created some application source code, and that for that application to run, we need to install the dependencies. Agree with that?
Yeah.
So those dependencies we are installing in the dev machine, and the application is developed in that environment. But we need to test that application. So once if you want to test that application in the QA machine, what we need to do? We have to install all those binaries again in the QA machine.
Yes.
Can you guarantee that all those binaries and libraries will be installed exactly like that of the dev ones? No guarantee that, right?
Yes.
Overnight, the application versions may be changed, and you may be missing one or the other command, or the operating system that you are using in the QA machine may not support that binaries which are supported in the dev. All those conflicts will come. So in order to avoid that, whatever the binaries and libraries and the application that we have used in the dev, all those things we are packaging and the same box we are deploying in the QA. So here we don't need to install all those things because we have already got them from the dev environment. Because that application is successfully in the running in the dev environment with that binaries and libraries, because we are shipping that the same thing into the QA environment that should run exactly perfectly in the QA environment as well.
Yeah. That's what that Docker image is. So Docker
Yes.
image is having okay. But my doubt is why means some purpose. Maybe in next classes it may be
Yeah, you will
clear.
understand. You will
Yeah.
understand. Okay. So
Actually.
here, forget about Jenkins. I'm just showing Jenkins as an example. But actually, our Java application, for example, if you take Java application, the Java source code we will take, we will try to create our own Docker image from that Java application by installing all those things. And we will be using the same image in the different environments, whether it can be QA prod, the same box, we will just execute that file. That's it. We don't need to install all those things in every environment. Okay, we will that thing. We will get that thing. Yeah, thank you all of you. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can wind up this session.
Hello.
Yeah, Madhav.
Yeah, so I was asking that is Docker useful for application delivery to end users? Like means
Yes, that is
yeah.
exactly what we are going to do. So
Okay.
we will use the Kubernetes container orchestration. There also Docker images we will use. First, we need to learn Docker, then we need to learn Kubernetes. So
Okay.
with that, you will understand how we will be launching the applications.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody is asking where can we get yesterday's class? Kamal, I think they have already shared you the demo class through your email. Please check. Demo class means the first class. They might have already shared with you. And Dayakar Gurram, where are you from? So Raman is asking, what's the difference between the container and the image? Simply, I can say that For example, what we have done, you have downloaded the mobile external. Okay, and this is the mobile external. This is the just file. This you can think of as an image. This is an image. Once we double click this, what we got the instance, the software we got, this mobile external instance we got. This is similar to container. Container is similar to this. So image is just a file which contains the application and its binaries. Once we run that file, once we execute that file, then we will be getting the container. That's the only difference between the image and the container. So container is the runnable instance. It is the running state of the image, right? And somebody is asking that they didn't get the link for the yesterday's class. I will talk to them. Definitely they must have shared that with you. I will remind them. Okay. Once this class is over, I will talk to them. And please check your mail tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, that's all for today, friends. Please make your payment things so that you will be created with a Google Drive, and I will upload the notes. They will upload the videos as well. Thank you, guys. Let's meet tomorrow. Bye. Okay.